It was a sunny day, and I was going about my usual routine as a food delivery guy. I received an order from a local restaurant and hopped on my trusty scooter to pick it up. Little did I know that this ordinary day would soon turn into a terrifying experience I would never forget. As I was making my way to the restaurant, I noticed a police car speeding towards me from the opposite direction. The car was moving so fast that I barely had time to react, and before I knew it, it had passed by in a blur. I couldn't help but wonder what had the police in such a hurry. Shaking off the strange encounter, I arrived at the restaurant and quickly collected the order. With the food safely secured, I started the journey to deliver it to the customer's location. However, when I reached the destination, my heart sank. There were numerous police officers surrounding the house, and the atmosphere was tense. My instincts told me something was terribly wrong, but being just a food delivery guy, I couldn't fathom what was happening. With a trembling heart, I approached the house slowly, holding the food bag in my hands. Before I could even reach the front door, the police officers turned their attention towards me, their guns drawn and pointed in my direction. Fear paralyzed me as their stern voices demanded my identity. As I showed them the order details and my identification, the atmosphere remained tense. It was clear they were on edge, and the situation was far from normal. They scrutinized the information, trying to verify my identity. My heart pounded in my chest as I backed away slowly. I was caught in the middle of something I had no idea about. The realization that the person who ordered the food was a wanted man made my mind race with terrifying possibilities. Feeling the weight of their suspicion, I mounted my scooter and drove away as fast as I could, my mind filled with thoughts of what could have happened if I had entered that house. I couldn't shake off the feeling that danger had lurked just around the corner, and I had unknowingly brushed shoulders with it. As a food delivery man, I'd encountered my fair share of strange customers, but this particular experience left me with unsettling sensation crawling under my skin. The sun blazed relentlessly as I made my way through the neighborhood, carrying the bag of steaming hot food from the mysterious customer. My boss had been busy attending to other matters, so I had taken the responsibility to deliver the order promptly. The address was in a quiet part of town, and I remember feeling grateful for the shade provided by the tall trees lining the street. As I approached the house, I could feel a certain unease growing within me. There was something off about the place, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. With a sense of duty, I pressed the doorbell, the chime echoing through the quiet neighborhood. No answer. Maybe they didn't hear it, I thought, and pressed it again while adding a couple of knocks for good measure. Still, silence persisted. I returned to my car, picking up my phone to call my boss. Perhaps he could reach out to the customer and figure out what was going on. To my surprise, my boss faced the same problem. No one was picking up the phone at the customer's end either. We exchanged puzzled words, both wondering if something unfortunate had happened to the person inside. Just as I was about to leave, something compelled me to glance back at the house one last time. And there, to my shock, the front door stood ajar, revealing a dimly lit interior. My heart skipped a beat, but I convinced myself it was nothing more than a coincidence. Someone must have opened the door from inside, and I had merely missed it. With renewed determination, I walked back up to the house, the feeling of unease intensifying with each step. My hands trembled slightly as I held the bag of food. The interior was eerily silent, and I called out, "Hello? Food delivery?" There was no response. The only sound was the soft rustling of leaves outside, disturbed by a gentle breeze. I peeked inside and saw a man standing in the hallway, wearing nothing but his underwear. He stared at me, unblinking, his eyes locking with mine. It was an uncomfortable sight, and I felt a chill running down my spine. The man's expression was blank, devoid of any emotion or acknowledgement of my presence. Despite the unsettling encounter, I managed to find my voice and said, "Your food delivery is here." Still, no response from the man, not even a nod or a word. I held up the bag, my hand trembling a bit more now, urging him to take it. He reached out slowly, grabbing the bag without breaking eye contact. It was as if his gaze pierced right through me, and I couldn't help but feel like I was being scrutinized, analyzed, or even judged. A sense of relief washed over me as he handed me the payment in silence. Without wasting another moment, I turned on my heels and quickly made my way back to the car. As I drove away, I couldn't shake off the discomfort that lingered within me. The man's piercing gaze haunted my thoughts, and I couldn't help but wonder what kind of strange encounter I had just experienced. I was making my routine food delivery rounds, just like any other day. My name is Dianne, a food delivery girl, and my shift was almost over. It was around 5 p.m., and I had one last order to deliver before I could call it a day. I arrived at the customer's location, a seemingly ordinary house in a quiet neighborhood. I pressed the doorbell, but instead of the main door, the garage door slowly creaked open. A chill ran down my spine as an uneasy feeling washed over me. It was unusual for customers to use the garage entrance for deliveries. Reluctantly, I stepped into the dimly lit garage, and there I saw 3 men, almost my age, sitting around the table with bottles of alcohol scattered about. It was clear they were already intoxicated. As they turned to see me, their expressions quickly shifted from surprised to something else entirely. It was evident they weren't expecting a female delivery person. Drunk as they were, they began inviting me inside the garage, but I knew I couldn't accept. I tried to keep my composure, insisting that I couldn't enter a customer's home for safety reasons. However, one of the men seemed more persistent than the others. He stood up, swaying slightly, and put his arm on my shoulder. "Come on, don't be shy," he slurred, his breath reeking of alcohol. "We won't bite," he added. Fear started to consume me, and my heart pounded in my chest. The other 2 men also stood up, making me feel trapped and cornered. I knew I had to get out of there, but I didn't know how. Just when the situation seemed to be escalating, a concerned neighbor happened to pass by. Sensing something was wrong, they approached the scene and quickly intervened. They told the man to back off and respect my boundaries. Thankfully, the neighbor's intervention diffused the tense situation. I felt a rush of relief as I managed to escape the garage and return to the safety of my vehicle. I thanked the neighbor profusely for coming to my rescue and headed back to the restaurant. Back at work, I couldn't shake off the feeling of discomfort and fear. I shared the harrowing experience with my boss, who took my safety seriously. My boss offered me a 1-week leave to recover from the traumatic encounter and assured me they would take appropriate measures to prevent similar incidents in the future.